The great hall of the Olothian imperial citadel hummed with anticipation. Deep in the heart of the capital city of Velcarin, a domed metropolis nestled on the emerald plains of the planet Olith, every noble, diplomat, and palace guard stood at rigid attention. Brilliant arcs of starlight filtered through the crystalline ceiling above, as though the cosmos itself were paying witness. At the far end of the hall, on the raised dais, flanked by twin columns of shimmering zenite, stood the throne of the Empress Shalvari. Beside her, unsworn to the crown yet radiant in her ceremonial regalia, hovered Princess Melira, heir to the empire that spanned 3 star systems and thousands of worlds. All eyes turned as Princess Melira raised her hand. With the soft chime of alien instruments and the quiet murmur of hundreds of guests, the hall fell into perfect silence. She had summoned them this day for a proclamation unlike any other in Olothian history. And beyond the grand veranda windows, the human ship Aurora Dawn hovered in geostationary orbit above Velcarin, its sleek hull contrasting strangely with Olitha's organic architecture. Inside that ship stood Commander Ethan Gray, a human envoy from the Sol Federation, whom Melira would point to when she declared, "This human is the one I will marry." Beginning. Commander Ethan Gray had arrived on Olith only 6 cycles ago, as part of an interstellar trade delegation. Humans had been in tentative alliance with the Olothian Empire for mere decades, far less time than the Empire's millennia of rule. But Ethan was not merely a diplomat. He had been selected for his calm judgment, his empathy, and for the subtle leadership he showed under fire during the Ixari border skirmishes. The humans respected him. The Olothians found him quietly puzzling and oddly compelling. Upon arrival, Ethan wandered through the iridescent streets of Velcarin, marveling at its bioengineered towers that pulsed with living light, its whispering gardens that sang with insectal song, and the air infused with the scent of blooming chrysanthemum. It was beautiful but also alien. He felt small in that grand city. Yet Princess Melira found in him something she had long sought. Melira, daughter of Empress Shalvari, had grown up in the highest traditions of Olothian aristocracy: etiquette, diplomacy, martial training, flawless ceremony. But she also possessed an unquenchable curiosity for the unknown. Humans fascinated her. They lived so differently. They sacrificed so much for connection, for ties that weren't forged by conquest or destiny. Ethan's arrival stirred something in her. Respect, amusement, a quiet longing she scarcely comprehended at first. Their first meeting took place after a formal banquet. Ethan was invited to the palace gardens for a cultural exchange. Human songs and Olothian lyre chant beneath the twin moons. Melira joined him, wearing a gown of shifting starlight fabric, and she asked what humanity prized. "We prize trust," Ethan said, "and the promise of tomorrow." Melira listened, uncertain what human words carried, but the Emperor's daughter looked into his eyes and saw something rare: vulnerability, sincerity. As days turned into weeks, their meetings became less formal, though still watched by palace eyes. Melira guided Ethan through the Empire's archives, introduced him to ancient artifacts, and opened dialogues about governance, war, empire ethos. She asked him why humans fought wars. Ethan paused. "Because we believe peace is fragile. Because we believe we can be better." His honesty startled her. The princess had known liars, idealists, and those who pretended. Ethan matched none of those categories. Empress Shalvari watched all of this with a quiet stove of calculation. She ruled wisely and with firmness. She knew alliances mattered. She had expected Melira to form a bond with some Olothian lord, to strengthen interstar system ties. But she also recognized that humanity's rising status meant new possibilities. So she accepted with regal composure that her daughter might choose a human, a scenario she never believed would occur. Then came the pivot. Intelligence of an emerging threat from the outer rim. The Jaru Conclave, a hive mind species bent on absorbing civilizations. The Empire and the Federation would need to stand together. In the crisis room, Ethan and Malira found themselves side by side, strategizing, reading star charts, debating sacrifice. They witnessed each other's courage. Later, in the quiet of the command deck, the princess confessed, "If the Empire falls, my fate changes." Ethan replied, "Then let us fight for both so that we hold our futures separately and together." She reached out her hand, her tentacular hair curling as the gravity adjusters responded. He took her hand. The war was brief but fierce. Space fleets clashed in the dark of void. Boarding parties stormed biovessels. Olothian energy lances cut through Jaru constructs. Humanity's fighters brought ground tactics. Olatha's starships brought cunning biotech. Together they prevailed, but at great cost. For Malira, the cost was a funeral for her mentor, the admiral of the fleet. For Ethan, the cost was the loss of his best friend, Pilot Lopez. They shared grief in quiet halls, became each other's solace. Middle. The victory solidified the human-Olothian alliance. But it also deepened the bond between Ethan and Malira. Their conversations moved from warfare to worlds. Malira studied human art, listened to jazz recordings, asked about homesickness. Ethan learned about Lillian tuples and Olatha's system of empathic hierarchy. They fell into a rhythm of understanding and acceptance. Back in the Imperial archives, Malira discovered an old prophecy, written in ancient glyphs, that spoke of a foreign-born consort who would stand beside the heir and lead the Empire into a new era. She showed it to Ethan. "Does it refer to you?" he asked, half joking. "Or to some myth?" She shrugged. "Prophecies are always vague. But I know what I feel." Yet problems emerged. The court of nobles murmured. A human. The princess choosing him. Scandal, they whispered. Some feared the loss of purity in lineages. Some were outraged at the idea of the heir marrying off-world. Private letters circulated. The Empress, wise but firm, summoned the court. "Our alliance with the Soul Federation is not just strategic, it is moral," she declared. "If our heir seeks union from beyond Olath, then let it not weaken the throne but strengthen it." Her words silenced many. Malira and Ethan spent a final week together alone before the grand ceremony. They traveled beyond Velcarin, to the wild plains where Olira trees glowed at twilight, and the nomadic sky whales soared above the chorusing rivers. Beneath an ancient tree, Malira spoke softly. "A princess has duties, but a person has desires. I choose both." Ethan held her, remembering all the formalities of his own world and how little they compared to this living, blooming alien realm. He realized that love might not conquer all, but it could endure. The proclamation day dawned. The great hall echoed with whispers and footsteps. Nobles in luminous robes came. Human delegates in crisp suits followed. The press ships hovered outside. The princess stepped forward. Her voice, amplified by subtle biotech, rang clear. "Before the entire empire I declare." She paused and pointed at Ethan, standing resolute yet humble. "This human is the one I will marry." Gasps filled the chamber. The Empress nodded approvingly. The crown rays caught the Zenite columns, sending flares of emerald light across the hall. Ethan's heart hammered. He bowed low. One noble rose in protest, but the Empress's voice silenced him. "The union shall proceed under the rights of Olath and the laws of the Soul Federation. All present are witnesses." Ending preparations for the wedding blended human and Olothian traditions. Two cultures, two stars, one union. The human representatives learned to recite the ancient Olothian vow. I stand with you while worlds turn and stars fade. The Olothians sang the human ballad of home. In our hearts you travel far, but return you do. The ceremony took place beneath twin moons, on a floating platform over the translucent lake of Cariel. Bioluminescent flora drifted in the water, reflecting the first human-Olothian union that was both love and alliance. Ethan wore a ceremonial uniform styled for the occasion, human-cut, Olothian embellishments of glowing filaments. Melira floated beside him in a gown woven of stardust threads, her tentacular hair intertwined with human roses. When she placed the stellar gem band on his finger, she whispered, "You are my anchor in this vast universe." He responded, "And you are my compass through all unknown journeys." The reception followed. Human foods shared tables with Olothian crustaceans that sang when touched. Human music fused with Olothian harmonies and made dancers from both species spin beneath the light of hovering drones. The atmosphere shifted from official to intimate. Representatives smiled, laughed, embraced across species. The alliance was now personal. The Empire's future now human-shaped. Later, in a quiet moment, Melira and Ethan walked on the veranda of the Imperial Palace. The city sprawled below, alive with lights and movement. "What will come next?" asked Ethan softly. Melira gazed out at the horizon, where fleets of silver ships glinted. "We rebuild. We explore. We reclaim what the Jaru threatened, and we learn from each other. Together." She laid her hand on his. "Human Olothian. What does it matter? We choose each other." And so it began. The newlywed couple embarked on joint missions, Ethan commanding a mixed human-Olothian task force to survey newly liberated worlds, Melira presiding over diplomatic councils and introducing reforms, reducing imperial hierarchies, broadening representation. Their love became legend. Songs were written of the alien princess who dared to choose a human, and the human who dared to love an empire. In time, the empire changed not because of conquest, but because of unity. The human Olothian fleet sailed to distant galaxies. Scientists from both races melded theories. Children of mixed heritage walked freely across planets. When the next threat came, an ancient quantum singularity threatening to collapse multiple star systems, the Empirical Alliance stood strong, guided by the example of that union. Years later, Melira sat in the throne room not as heir but as empress alongside Ethan, now a titled Lord Consort of Olith. They addressed the assembly together, her voice calm and firm, his resolute and true. "Our bond is proof," she said, "that difference need not divide, and love need not bow to tradition." Ethan, once a stranger on a foreign world, now looked out over the hall and felt home. He had married not only a princess but a people. Melira, once bound by protocol, now led not only the empire, but a generation of hope. And so the story of that day, the day the princess declared her choice, became immortal in Olothian annals. Not because of spectacle, but because it heralded a new epoch. As the twin moons set and the dawn of 1,000 worlds broke, they stood together, hand in hand, gazing outward. Two beings, two species, one promise, to journey forward, before the entire empire and beyond. For the historic union of Princess Melira and Commander Ethan Grey proved that even in the vastness of space, love can shake the foundations of empires, reshape destinies, and chart the course of entire civilizations. And thus ends the tale. Before the entire empire, the alien princess declared, "This human is the one I will marry."